What's up, buddy? Happy Friday. How's it going?
Things are good.
We're processing a recent trade.
We're trying to figure out what Jerry DiPoto is doing, which is kind of just, I mean, that's sort of what the baseball community at large exists to do, is make sense of what Jerry DiPoto is.
It's one of our favorite games to play. But let's just get into it. We got a little spying on our exes to do, David. Can we get with it? Let's go. Let's spy on our exes. Yes. We found out, breaking news per Jeff Passan, that the Mariners have traded former Arizona Diamondback Robbie Ray to the San Francisco Giants. So we have to deal with him a whole lot more now. Yeah. What was the return here, Jesse? What's the whole trade?
Yeah, so it's Robbie Ray to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for another old friend here in Arizona, Mitch Haniger.
That's right. Spying on multiple X's here.
Yes. He signed with the Giants as a free agent last offseason, and then right-handed pitcher Anthony DeSclafani also heading over to the Seattle Mariners in this deal.
What is happening? What is this? Can you make any sense of this deal? Robbie Ray, former Cy Young winner, right? Who really didn't get a chance to have a lot of time there in Seattle before being injured and having his season shut down.
Yeah, I think I kind of get it from the Giants' perspective, in that Mitch Haniger he was hurt a lot, as he often has been throughout his career, right? He was hurt a lot in his first year in San Francisco, was not particularly good. He had, I think, the worst offensive season he's ever had, an OPS plus around 70. And then Anthony DeSclafani also was not particularly productive for the Giants in 2023. So they get rid of a couple players who, I guess moving forward, maybe they didn't really want to have to rely on Mitch Haniger, Anthony DeSclafani all that much. And in return, they're getting a pitcher in Robbie Ray, who won the AL Cy Young just a couple years ago, and is coming off Tommy John surgery. So Robbie Ray is not going to pitch for the Giants until June, July, maybe right after the All-Star break, something like that. But he is at his best, he has the ability to be a frontline starting pitcher. Of course, there's some risk coming back from Tommy John surgery. But for the Giants, I guess you're kind of getting rid of two pieces that maybe you didn't really see a big future for. DeSclafani, just one more year on his deal. Mitch Haniger has 2 more years on his deal. In return, you're getting theoretically 3 years of Robbie Ray, although I think he has an opt-out after the 2024 season. So maybe there's a world in which Robbie Ray just, kills it in the second half of the 2024 season and then leaves in free agency. But I don't think either team is like a big winner here. It's just a weird trade. And for Jerry DiPoto, this is par for the course.
Well,
right?
And again, when you talk about adding Robbie Ray to Logan Webb and Ross Stripling for the Giants rotation, you can see why they did this, and maybe they feel like it was a low risk, high reward kind of situation with bringing Robbie Ray back. They know what he has been. They know how good he was for the Toronto Blue Jays, at least once he became a member of that franchise, and he was very good for the Diamondbacks. He became a different level pitcher when he went to Toronto, I feel like, and that was something that was a bit disappointing, considering that we always knew he could be good, but it always felt like watching Robbie Ray on the D-backs was like watching a guy that always got left in for just one inning too long. It felt like, he'd have these masterful performances through 4 innings, 5 innings, but things would fall apart for him. But it's going to be interesting to have Robbie Ray back in the division now and to be playing against him once he returns. And I think the Giants still have a lot of money to spend, considering the rumored free agents that they were connected to at times and how much money they were looking to spend on this team. And obviously, they did bring over the grandson of the Wind. So that right there is a big hit for them. But they definitely could be looking to add to this team that was like underrated, but still surprisingly good at times. Like, this Giants team was in the mix for a wild card spot there for a while, when they really, like, looking at the roster, didn't really look like they had any business being.
Yeah, Elise also touches in the comments on the contracts in this trade, which I want to talk about real quick. None of the contracts to any of these players are good right now. Robbie Ray off Tommy John surgery. I mentioned there's an opt-out after 2024. But beyond that, it's 3 years and $73 million remaining. So it's about $25 million per year for Robbie Ray. And I think there's a world in which he could be worth that, but there's obviously risk coming back from Tommy John surgery. You don't know exactly what you're going to get there. Mitch Haniger, 2 years and $32.5 million left on his deal for a guy who, as I mentioned earlier, had a 73 OPS plus in 2023 and did not play all that many games as he tends to do. That's not exactly an enticing contract. And then Anthony DeSclafani, after having an ERA of almost 5 in San Francisco this last year, a pitcher-friendly ballpark, he has 1 year and $12 million remaining. So none of these contracts are good. I guess the Mariners are taking back a couple of not so good ones, but there's some upside with Mitch Haniger. You feel like he can maybe bounce back. And the Mariners are getting rid of a bigger contract in Robbie Ray, which goes over to San Francisco. And the Mariners don't necessarily need Robbie Ray. I guess that's the other big part of this. The Mariners have a pretty full, solid rotation as it is. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. That's a pretty solid 1 through 5 right there without having a guy who, won the Cy Young Award a couple years ago. So the Mariners have the ability to make a trade like this. It is kind of funny in some ways that, Mariners were, I think a lot of Mariners fans have been talking about, potentially trading off one of these young starting pitchers and trying to get some young stud hitter in return, right?
Yeah,
the Mariners need to add some offense to this team. And Jerry DiPoto did trade one of his starting pitchers, and he got Mitch Haniger, which is probably obviously someone Mariners fans are familiar with. He had some good seasons there, but that's not exactly the prize of the offseason when you're looking to upgrade your offense.